welcome back to the channel, guys. I'm so glad that you joined me today. Today I'm in my pantry and I'm going to be bringing you all along and telling you just how I manage our working pantry that I have here. So if that interests you, grab some coffee, grab some tea, sit back, relax, grab a notebook and a pen because we're about to get pantry dorky here. And I am going to be using the easyprepping.com website. I know I refer to that a lot, guys, but I really love it. It's such a simple, easy tool. They've done all of the thinking for you, whether you're new to prepping or old to prepping. It's just a wonderful tool to just have in our hands and compare notes. It is a tool. You use it as a tool. You don't use it as a schoolmaster that you would have to like do every single thing. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to go onto easyprepping.com, and when you get there you're going to see this beautiful little website that they have created, and the first thing at the top says use their calculator, food storage calculator. So you just click use the calculator, and then you go down and you see some more beautiful pictures and you see use our food storage calculator, and you click again and you scroll down, and it's going to ask you just a couple quick questions. I'm going to show you how fast this is to do. So number of adult family members including ages 7 years old plus. So we're going to go ahead and put in 6 for our family. We have 6 members of the family that are ages 7 years old and up. And then for number of younger family members, ages 0 to 6, I'm going to put in 2. And I'm going to go down here, and the next question is food storage supply. And you can choose from as little as a 2-week supply all the way up to a 1-year supply, which has always been my goal, to have a 1-year pantry supply, and that's it. Just as soon as you click in whatever your length of time is that you desire to build your pantry to, it will automatically show you all of the results, and it's all in categories, and it's just very, very awesome. It's awesome, guys. So at this point you could probably print it out, or if you're a hands-on, a pen and paper kind of gal, and you could kind of post this in your pantry and fill it in as you go, or you can absolutely use it as your weekly or monthly bulk food shopping list. But we're going to go with the first category, and that is grains. And this is going to be a true evaluation of where I'm at, how I'm doing with my pantry. It's hard to tell because this is a working pantry and we eat out of it every single day. So the first thing is total grains. It says for a year's supply I would need 2,730 pounds of grain for my family. The first grain that it mentions on here is wheat, 1,400 pounds. We don't eat wheat because we are gluten-free. So you're gonna see as I go through this how I adjust it, and you can adjust it to fit the needs of your family. So we don't eat wheat, but I would substitute that wheat, that 1,400 pounds of wheat, I would substitute that for like our flour blends that we have. We always have in stock 2 flour blends. One is a bread flour, a gluten-free bread flour mix, and the other one is a gluten-free it's pancake and dessert mix, and it's basically like an almond flour and tapioca flour, and it's just really, really an awesome mix, and it doesn't have sugar in it. So I get both of those from Pamela's. So you can go check her out. I'll leave the link below for you. I'm not affiliated, but they make a great product at a great price, and you can order in bulk, and it's just been really great for our family. So I can tell you right now, I am nowhere near 1,400 pounds of wheat. I'm not there, not even close. I don't know that I ever will be. But moving on, let's go to the next thing. Rice, 490 pounds of rice. Well, I have one 60-pound container here of wild rice, and I mixed my wild rice with my brown rice, and let's see how we're doing. Open the vault and see how we're doing here, and we are doing pretty good. I mean, this is pretty full. We have a lot of rice in here. So, so I would say that is good. That's pretty good. I mean, it's not 60 pounds, but it's probably, maybe it's 50 pounds of wild rice and brown rice. I got the brown sprouted rice last from Amazon, and it's organic, and it's a lot of good things. So I was really happy to get that at a good price. That's been quite a ways back. And then down here I have a big 60-pound container of white rice, and this is my white jasmine rice that I absolutely love. It smells so good. It smells like, oh my, it just smells sweet and delicious. And I love that for meals, and also for making like a rice pudding. It's really good for that as well. So let's see. So how many did it say I needed? 490 pounds. Well, we ain't close to 490 pounds, but it's okay. This website helped me so much because it gave me hard and fast numbers, and it helped my brain to understand, first of all, just how big the numbers are. The reality of prepping for a whole year for your family, just how big those numbers are. And then secondly, it helped me to understand that I didn't need to prep into infinity of certain things, because as we go through, you'll see that some things I am maybe a little bit closer to on the numbers, and it was like, okay, cool. So I only need whatever, I'm gonna make it up and say like 40 jars of peanut butter. Oh, that's kind of doable. I can imagine that in my head. Whereas 1,400 pounds of flour is a little harder for me to imagine. And I know you could do wheat berries, and people do that too. So that might have a little variable in that for you. Next up is oats. Well, going back to rice. So how am I doing on rice? I mean, I have like 100 pounds of rice, maybe 125 pounds of rice. It's saying that I should have 490 pounds of rice. And guys, I'm just not willing to put up that much food and set aside that much space in this room for that. I would literally need, like, I don't know, like a lot of these big containers. I'm not necessarily doing that because the other piece and component to this is that we grow our own food, we preserve our own food, so we have cycles, right? So there's times where we're gonna eat more rice or flour products, right, in the winter time, but then there's the spring and the summertime where we're gonna have more produce coming from the garden and stuff too. So these are not hard and fast numbers that you have to attain. They're just numbers that will hopefully help you, and the categories are just absolutely wonderful. They've done all the research. They've researched what foods have the longest shelf lives and preserve well and all that. They've already done all of that for you here. So next up is oats. They're saying 234 pounds of oats. Well, I can tell you right now, I have 2 containers of oats back here. Well, actually, no, I don't, because I used up this one and I made granola, and it is almost empty, guys. So that is just the way that it goes here. There's probably maybe a quart. If I put it in a big quart jar, there's probably maybe a quart or a quart and a half of granola left in this container here, and it smells amazing. It's peanut butter. It's peanut butter and honey granola, or you can do peanut butter and maple syrup granola. It's so good. But anyway, so this one is empty. This one is, let's see, this is my other oats container. I have 3 working oats containers right now. This one is about maybe 3/4 full. There might be like 30 pounds or maybe, yeah, probably like 35 pounds of oats in there. So that's pretty good. I need to order some more oats, obviously. But in these containers, they hold 60 pounds at the max. So you could say 60 is 120, and then another 60 over here. I have another oats container. So 180 is pretty much my limit to what I'm going to be storing of oats. And again, they're saying 234. So, I mean, it's closer than I was on the wheat, but I'm still not exactly there. Next up is pasta. For our pasta, we do red lentil pasta. We're a gluten-free family for a lot of different health reasons. Different ones of us have different reasons for that. But the red lentil pasta is one of my favorite gluten-free pastas because it's just made with lentils, and red lentils are really good. They're just wonderful for your health. They're high protein, and they keep that like dense kind of shape to them. They don't tend to fall apart like sometimes rice noodles and other noodles do. So anyway, we stock up on red lentil pastas. Let's go back and see how I'm doing with them. So for pasta, it's saying that it's recommended the same amount as for oats, 234 pounds for our size family. So pasta, I am down to the bottom here. It's maybe like an eighth of the way full in this container, and this is my beautiful red lentil pasta that I love. And lots of people ask where I get it. The penne pasta is, I either get, there's a little mixed in together here. I either get the penne pasta, which I prefer, or the rigatoni pasta. They're kind of like my go-to pastas. But I usually get it from Amazon or Walmart online. Seems to be the best pricing that I've ever found on red lentil pasta or lentil pasta. I've looked everywhere, y'all, everywhere. I've looked at so many websites over the years, and it seems like I always come back to either Walmart, which I despise doing that, or Amazon, which is just a slightly less despised place to shop for me personally, but it's just the way that it is. So that's where I filled up. So I have this this container right here, and then I have another pasta container over here, and this one is pretty well filled up. It's probably like half to 3/4 filled up. It's in a big, I can't take this out because it's actually in a big plastic bag. I put it in a food saver bag. So we're doing pretty okay on pasta, but pasta's definitely needs to go on my list. So I got oats and pasta I need to be ordering here soon. Next up is cornmeal. Now I started prepping cornmeal because it was on the list, and I just started with small amounts because I was looking for an organic cornmeal, which is kind of a challenge to find at a good price for a family our size. I found some organic cornmeal. I think it was from Amazon, and we did kind of work through it, but it probably took us a year or more to work through it. And I just ordered little tiny bags. Cornmeal is just not a thing. I wish that it was a thing. I love cornbread, but it's just not a thing that it's just not our go-to thing that we do and eat. So cornmeal is kind of scratched off the list for me. Next up will be your canned and dried meats. Now, if you've been around for any length of time in my pantry, you will know that I love canning meat. I have a pressure canner. Actually, I have 2 pressure canners now, the electric pressure canners, and I absolutely love them, and I use them for canning our meat. I've done ground beef, I've done shredded beef, I've done lots of broths, bone broths, chicken broths, beef broths, vegetable broths, which doesn't count as meat, but those broths do kind of cross over in my mind as a meat supply because it is protein. So I want to be pulling more out of my freezers. If you just watched my freezer tour, my updated freezer tour about a week ago, go back and check that out, where we converted my old laundry space into a walk-in freezer closet area with all my freezers. And I will be pulling out of those freezers throughout the fall and winter months and going ahead and canning a lot of that meat up to get it out of the freezer, create more space in the freezer, and to put it in the pantry and have it shelf stable and ready to go. I look at it as fast food, y'all. The canned food that is already cooked and ready to go, it is just wonderful when you live a busy life that you can just crack open a can, warm up some whatever, and you can serve it to your family within 10 minutes, and it's just fabulous. It's totally the way to go, and it's healthy and it's good, and you know what's in it because you did it. There's nothing like it. It's so satisfying. So they are recommended canned or dried meats, and they recommend here dehydrating or freeze drying is great for long-term storage, and then it gives you the breakdown of the sizes, and they tell you all different types of meat that you could to give you some ideas for canned or dry meats, like bacon, beef jerky, chicken, fish, tuna fish. Now I do have quite a section here of tuna fish, and I'm working on building this up. I want to get more tuna fish in this section. I would like this whole shelf here to be tuna fish because it is a protein and it's already canned. So if you're not comfortable, you're not to the place yet of canning your own meat, I understand, but you can buy pre-canned meat at the store, even if you're thinking tuna fish is a canned meat. So they're saying for canned and dry meats for our family, about 140 pounds. We're probably pretty close to that if I counted my the little bit of canned meat I got over there and my broth, some of my bone broths. Next up is fats and oils, and they broke this down into a few different categories, and they said total fats and oils that we would need for our family is 176 pounds. And then they broke it down from there. They said 14 gallons of vegetable oil. Well, I don't use vegetable oil, so that just totally gets crossed off the list. But what I do use and replace that with is coconut oil. So coconut oil would be a thing. And definitely I have a section behind you that you cannot see that is a shelf totally dedicated to coconut oil. I just reordered last week, and I'll be filling up that whole section again with coconut oil. It's kind of like our multi-purpose oil that we just use for everything from greasing cast iron to cooking and baking, and just whatever we might need an oil for, we use coconut oil. It's just kind of been our go-to, even though we have added back in olive oil and avocado oil as well. And then next up is shortening. I do not use shortening in the house, so that's saying 28 pounds of shortening. I don't do that, but we do make our own butter, a dairy-free butter. So I have stored some ingredients for making our own dairy-free butter, and like I said, some of that would just probably cross back over into using coconut oil for baking and things like that. Next up is salad dressing, and they're recommending 7 quarts of salad dressing. I don't buy pre-made salad dressing anymore, but so we make our own apple cider vinegar and mustard dressing, and then we also have a ranch dressing that we make that's homemade, and we just make that straight from our preps. So moving on to our next section is going to be mayo, and if you watch my last grocery haul, you'll notice that I ended up having to make a hard decision to get rid of all of my mayo that I had prepped back here, which is fine, guys. I mean, I was just starting to restore it anyway, but I probably had about 20 jars of mayo that I had just bought at the grocery store. Anyway, long story short is that the commercially made mayos, a lot of them are adding a new preservative to it called EDT. I think I'm saying that right. And it's just the letters, and it's labeled as a preservative, but if you take the time and look it up, the side effects of that are horrible. So So I did have to just make the decision to do away with my mayo, but I will be working on restocking up a little bit of mayo in here. I'm just trying out some different ones and playing with the idea of just doing my mayo on demand when we need it, because we do have those ingredients as well. Next up is peanut butter. Peanut butter is super easy, guys, because it tells you that for our family, I need 28 pounds of peanut butter. This is 1 pound of peanut butter. So essentially all I would need for a year's supply of peanut butter, this is not true, would be 28 jars. Well, all families are different, and this just goes to prove it, because 28 jars of peanut butter would not last us nearly a year. I restock this shelf quite often, and I'm in the process of restocking it again now. Next up is beans and legumes, and for our beans and legumes, I have stocked up on black beans and pinto beans. Came in, I think it was like a 40 or 50 pound bag, and they are organically grown and delicious and wonderful. And then my pinto beans, it was the same, no it wasn't, I was going to say it was the same company. It was not the same company, but the pinto beans, I ended up getting them on Amazon, and it's this company, IBERIA, and I bought them because they were cheap. So this is full. This container is totally full of pinto beans. That's probably, I mean, this says 60 pounds, but I bet it would weigh more. I mean, those beans are heavy. And then up here, this one says cashews, but it's actually chickpeas. So I have black beans, I have pinto beans, I have chickpeas, and I have navy beans. So these are my chickpeas in here, and they're just awesome. Great protein, superfood, stores super well, and it's like 3/4 of the way full. I need to put chickpeas back into our weekly rotation and just be using this and going through this. So this is why it's good to go through your inventory too once in a while, to just kind of remind yourself of what you have, so that way you're not skipping out on things. An easy way to do that is to take a big quart jar or a plastic container, like I've showed you my other plastic containers before, and take a little bit of each of your dry goods and put it out in your kitchen so you can visually see it, and then you'll be able to pull from it more purposefully and use it on a day-to-day basis, and just keep those smaller containers out there and full. That's worked out really good for me in the past. Lately I've been short on counter space. But next up over here, I know you can't see this, but it's like 1/4 of the way full, is my tricolor quinoa. Quinoa, I guess that would kind of go as a grain, I think. It is a superfood, and it is a protein source, and I just love adding quinoa into soups and different things like that. Also, I said I have another big container full of white navy beans, and I'd have to back you up. We're working on the logistics of trying to film in this pantry, so bear with me as we make improvements to the pantry and make it more better. We make it more better, and we make it better for filming. Okay, next up, so they're saying dry beans, 280 pounds. I probably got quite a bit of dry beans. I don't know that I have that, but I have quite a bit. Lentils, 35 pounds of that is lentils. I don't have lentils per se, but I do have my lentil pasta, so that doubles. Let's see, dried soup mix. I do keep a dried veggie mix, and I do need to restock on that. I love having that dried veggie mix. It comes with like all the different things, all the different vegetables that you would grow in your garden. It's already dehydrated, and it comes in big bulk bags, and I love just taking a cup of that and throwing it into a soup or chili. It's just a great way to sneak in all those vegetables for the people that do not prefer the vegetables. Next up is milk and dairy. So we are dairy-free family here, but maybe you are not. So they're telling us that some ideas here would be powdered milk, evaporated milk, or other dairy. Total dairy being 609 pounds of dairy. You can do that several different ways, obviously. They're saying 522 pounds of dry milk. Well, we use our oats as our dry milk, and we have a milk machine. The Meomat is my favorite dry milk machine because I just put in 1 cup of whatever kind of dry ingredient I'm using to make my milk. For my case, I make oat milk on a daily basis. So just 1 measuring cup full of oats, and I put that in, and it makes about a half a gallon of oat milk for me in just less than 10 minutes, and I absolutely love it. It's just a lifesaver, and you can check out the Meomat link below. It also does a lot of different things, blended soups, cream soups, porridges, all different things that you can do with that handy little machine, and I absolutely love it. Let's see, cans of evaporated milk. Now we don't do evaporated milk, but we do coconut milk, and we use coconut milk. It's canned, and we use it for baking and things like that. So I would try to stock up more on coconut milk, canned coconut milk. And the other thing that we have tried in the past, but it's not something that we prefer, is the dried coconut powder. But it's just, we've tried it several times, different brands, and it's just not our preferred thing to do. So next up is sugars. So for sugars, they're saying 420 pounds of sugar total. And then they break this down: sugar, brown sugar, honey, jams, corn syrup, molasses, powder juice mix, and Jello mix. Well, we don't eat Jello, and we don't use powdered juice mixes. I do have a little bit of mayonnaise. It's saying 7 pounds. That is not hard to do. We don't do corn syrup. Jams, I have a little bit of jams. I have a little section of jams back here that we actually used to sell on the website, still left over. But on my bucket list has been to make homemade jams. I want to just have this whole shelf back here, maybe about half of it for right now until I get the next shelf available, just jams. I would love to do that. Just, oh, that would be so wonderful, like peach and strawberry and blueberry and all the things. That would be so satisfying. So that is on my list, and I can promise you it's going to be more than 21 pounds because we like jam. Next up is sugar, 280 pounds of sugar. I have designated 2 of these vaults, 60-pound vaults for sugar, and I usually just get the raw granulated sugar, sugar in the raw, something like that. I just go price per pound, price per ounce. I shop it out at like 4 different places, and whoever gives me the best deal, that's where I stock up on my sugar. Right now, I can tell you I have about half of 1 of these containers with sugar in it, and I really do want to kind of make it a goal to have 2 of them. We only use it for baking purposes. The rest of our sweetener would be honey from our bees that we have here, which is a huge blessing. Prior to having the bees, I stockpiled maple syrup, and I always found a great deal on that. At Sam's Club, I would order a bunch. They would ship it to the house. It was a beautiful thing. I think it was like, back then it was like $8 a bottle, and that was a really great deal for organic maple syrup. And I'm not stuck on the organic label, guys. I know you just have to like believe in the labels and trust the labels, but some things like maple syrup, I don't know if it would even necessarily have to be organic. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments below, but I mean, it's just trees. So would they be spraying them? I don't know. Not sure about that one. You let me know. Just giving you some thoughts and ideas as I go through this, because we've been doing this for many years now, and some of you have said, wow, I would love to have a pantry like that, or I would love to have a freezer room like that. Y'all, first of all, I'm 44 years old. I did not get here overnight, and this has been many years in the process of building. So we've been here 8 years. It's been at least that long of a process of working up and starting to rebuild a pantry. And prior to that, I was building and doing bulk food pantries like way back when Matt was a baby. So you're going back 17 years that I've been doing this. So I've really learned how to hone in, and I know what we eat, and I know, even though all the dietary changes have happened in the past 4 years, still I've learned how to hone my skills at this, so you'll get there, just one little bit at a time. Don't get discouraged. And then the next category is cooking essentials. So they're talking about salt, baking powder, baking soda, yeast, jams you could use, and vinegar. I do stock up on vinegar. I try to keep, I moved it up here. I have several 1-gallon jugs of vinegar up here. Salt, they're saying 35 pounds of salt. I have 1 bucket of salt. It might be 35 pounds. We don't go through a whole lot of salt in our family, but I can see how it would be useful if you were preserving, especially preserving meat. Baking soda, 7 pounds. I definitely have that. Yeast, 7 pounds. I don't have that yet, but I did stock up on yeast back in 2020. When yeast went on a run and you couldn't buy it, and they were actually like just allowing people to just get 1 packet at a time at our local stores per family, like 1 little packet of instant yeast. I started stockpiling my yeast, but we've used it. So I have, like, I'm looking at 1 jar of yeast right now, and I don't know, there might be another jar somewhere, but vinegar, baking soda, baking powder, I talked about that. Next up is fruits and vegetables, and some ideas: apples, strawberries, blueberries, banana chips, fruit mixtures, applesauce, fruit juices. Vegetable ideas would be carrots, corn, green beans, peas, potatoes, onions, tomatoes. The best shelf-stable fruits and vegetables include freeze-dried, canned, dehydrated, and frozen. So obviously you have been in my pantry, you know we can a lot of our vegetables. I still have canned string beans over there from last year's garden. I've just been buying string beans canned this year and adding to them because of the drought. Our green beans didn't do super well this year. I've canned up all of our collards and our kale from last year. That's still over there as well. The other thing that we've added to the pantry this year is corn. I've designated one of these black shelves just for corn, just to add a little diversity to our meals. Corn is sweet, it's colorful, it really does, you know, make you a little happy to see some corn on your plate sometimes. Potatoes, of course, y'all know, I'm like, you could live on potatoes. We could live on potatoes. We had a big thing of mashed potatoes tonight in our dinner. And the canned potatoes are great because you can grab them and you can make them into whatever you want. Breakfast, lunch, dinners, you can do all kinds of things with the canned potatoes. But we also grow our own potatoes, and we grow a lot of sweet potatoes because we are in a really hot climate, and sweet potatoes grow really well. But maybe if you're in a cooler climate, you could do more of the white potatoes or red potatoes, and they might do really well for you as well. Apples, I have started storing up on applesauce, one to replace some of the oil in our baking recipes. I'm playing around with different recipes and seeing which ones I can substitute applesauce instead of coconut oil, because I would prefer to do that. But the applesauce is also just an awesome prep, y'all, and it's just great. I pick it up whenever I can now at the store and put a few more of those big jars up there. When you're looking for applesauce, obviously this goes without saying for any of your canned fruits or vegetables, but canned fruits especially, you want to look for no high fructose corn syrup, and you want to look for simple ingredients canned in its own juice. You don't want any extra sugar or sweeteners added to your fruit. We also we have one whole shelf designated to canned pineapple that I buy in bulk from the store, and then I just started back, I had a shelf at one point, but I started back this shelf back here of canned peaches. I had done a little bit of research and tried to figure out what was the most nutritional impact for, I don't know, what had most of the nutrition density, I guess you want to say, for canned fruit, and it was peaches, and pineapples were pretty high up on the list. So I started back stocking up on my canned peaches. Tomatoes, of course, y'all, I have a whole shelf designated over there on the bottom, and it's all of our tomato sauce, crushed tomatoes, diced tomatoes, tomato paste, all of those things. That's one whole shelf, and I try to stack it 3 deep if possible. It's probably maybe 1.5 deep right now. So let's go on. Last thing is, oh, so they're saying for fruits and vegetables, 2,240 quarts of canned fruits and vegetables. Let me say that again. 2,240 quarts of canned fruits and vegetables. Y'all, I don't even know if that would fit in this room, okay? Second would be dried fruits and vegetables, which I do not have any to speak of right now. And they're saying 630 pounds of dried fruits and vegetables. Y'all, dried stuff does not weigh that much, so 630 pounds. It's a goal. It's a goal. We might not get there. Last and not least is water storage, and they're saying for our size family, 1,278 gallons of water and 7 gallons of bleach. It's probably a good thing to go ahead and get some bleach. I don't use bleach for our house cleaning or anything like that, but I know they're talking about it in the sense of sterilization and a prepper sense, and for that reason, this is a good reminder for me. I should probably have a few jugs of that bleach on hand, just to clean stuff or clean water if you needed to, like, sterilize or whatever. Anyway, we have a couple different systems for water here for our family. We do have community water, so it's like what would be considered town water or city water in other places. We are rural, so it's called community water, but we do have a big goal to have a well dug, so that way we could be self-sufficient with our own water supply. It costs a lot of money down here, y'all. The ground is hard, it's rocky, it costs a lot of money to dig a well, but it is a goal that we have. We have an old well that's a shallow well that is good for watering the animals and watering the garden, so that is a huge blessing. But we have a couple Berkey systems that I have here in the pantry. I don't use them anymore because I have a whole house filtration system that purifies all the house and all the water going through the whole house, so that community water comes in and it goes through and gets cleaned before it goes through the showers or the sinks or anything like that, so it's already filtered. So we do have the whole house water filtration system, so that's the only reason that you're not seeing our Berkey out on our counter anymore and being used. That just runs from the pressure of the community water, so as long as we have running water coming in, I don't really have to worry. So even if the power goes out, the water is still getting filtered, as long as we have community water, which obviously we want to go over to having our own water supply with a well. Anyway, with all that being said, guys, I hope something here was an encouragement to you. I know I get a lot of comments. I get people that say, whoa, that's so much food. I hope something goes bad and you get to use up all that food. Y'all, this is not a lot of food. I'm sorry. And then we get, of course, like the hoarder comments. And as you go through these containers, I think I've taken you through pretty much every single container in here with me. it's not that much food. It's not going to go bad. I have no worries about it expiring. I have no worries about us not being able to use it up. We only stock up enough food that we can manageably go through it and work through it. We are nowhere close, guys. Nowhere close, remotely close to having a year's worth of food in this pantry. But that's okay. I'm okay with it. That is my big goal. But my smaller day-to-day goals is just to have a good food supply put away for my family in the event that something happens to my husband's work, something happens to me, something happens, whatever, anything, and we would have a pantry to pull from. And I know that from past experience of that, needing that and relying on that, because that is part of our story and how we came here and how we did live on our preps for the first year when we came down. And I also know that my mother-in-law was a wonderful wife, and she always, in her basement, she had 3 freezers, big stand-up size freezers, and 3 full-size refrigerators, and she had a pantry that went on for like ever. And it was amazing. It was incredible down there, and she managed that and she kept it, and she opened her house every single Sunday afternoon to all of the family and any friends that wanted to come over after church and have lunch. She always served and was just such a generous lady. I am nowhere remotely close to that. I can tell you 100% I'm not even close. So I'm not hoarding, I'm not stashing, I'm not prepping for a doomsday situation. None of those things, guys. I'm just dealing with reality. Somebody said to my husband the other day, what are you prepping all that food for? And he said, next week. And I mean, that is kind of the reality of it. We kind of say tongue in cheek, but yeah, like we eat from this pantry all the time. There's no other food in my house other than my freezers. So we eat a whole food, simple, very simple diet. So anyway, with all of that being said, I hope that something here was a blessing. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day with your people, and I hope that you can take something from this and make it your own and come up with a way better idea than what I've shared here with you, and take it and run with it and tell me all about it. Tell me what you did after you watch this video, and that will just bless my heart. If I know that I encouraged one person with one thing, that would just be worth it all. So with that, I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. I hope you love your people, do all the things, rejoice in the Lord always, because He is so worthy of our praise. And we will see you next time, guys, right back here on the farm. We'll see you. Bye-bye.